Hello, I'm Christina with Ask a Montessorian, and thank you so much for joining me here today. One of the main topics that I get asked so much about is sleep, especially when it comes to infants and toddlers. The children are growing, okay? They're going to have growth spurts, their lives are changing. Um, there's so many different variables that have to be taken into consideration. Um, for instance, did you move? Do they have a new bedroom? These things can interrupt their sleep cycles. It's really important that the child feels safe and secure so that when they grow up, they're more confident and they can advocate for themselves. There are 5 steps that you can practice to achieve sensational sleep with your sweet little ones. The first step is to create a peaceful environment. For instance, your in-laws are coming to visit during the holidays, and they want to arrive at 11 p.m. at night. Your child's sleep is a priority. Therefore, you ask them to please arrive at 6 p.m. or come the next morning between 9 and 10 a.m. or whatever works best for you and your family so that your child's sleep is not interrupted by the hustle and bustle of relatives arriving in the middle of the night. So a peaceful environment is number 1. Number 2, you want to have a routine. You want to have a wonderful bedtime routine at night that's peaceful and harmonious. Reading a story, talking to them. One of the things that we learned in the primary Montessori training is that your child is much more enamored with you telling them a story about your life or about your experiences or about grandma and grandpa's experiences rather than you reading a book. So talk to your child at night. Share a story with him or her. Practice brushing your teeth, practice flossing, practice your nighttime routine with, going to the bathroom, having a glass of water. Remember, it's our responsibility to prepare the environment for the child, and your goal is their success. So in order for them to be successful, they need those resources. So number 2 is routine. Number 3, where is your child going to sleep? This is very controversial in the Montessori, in the parenting community. Our society has constructed so many materials that are used so that you no longer have to carry your child or bond with your child or be with your child. They've made it it seems like it's very geared toward the busy parent, right? So in Montessori, that's not the case. Maria Montessori believed that the ideal situation for a child is for the parent to stay home from 0 to 3 years old, and then a primary classroom from 3 to 6. So where's your child going to be sleeping? Dr. Montanaro wrote this amazing book called Understanding the Human Being. It's about the first 3 years of life. And rather than a crib, which is one of those materials brought in by our society today, you place a crib mattress on the floor, and then you place a large mirror behind the mattress. There are a number of mobiles that you can use. The very first one is red, white, and black because it works with the infant's vision, because the infant can only see a limited number of colors. They love watching that mobile. And then there are a series of mobiles in the Montessori 0 to 3 training that you can use in your home, because at 6 weeks of age, the child's vision changes. So you've got this mattress on the floor. You lay down on the floor and you put them to sleep. You're telling them the stories. You're creating the peaceful environment. You go to bed at the same time every night. The infant will wake up approximately every 2 to 3 hours to feed. And you go with that. You follow the child. Okay. Some of the parents have asked about waking the child up and putting them on a schedule. Please. This is not conducive to their brain development, because they're sleeping in order to practice self-construction. Their brains are growing, they're developing, and that sleep is vital for their brain development. They really need a strong foundation in sleep so that when they grow older, they're successful little sleepers. They can have terrific days because they're getting a great night's sleep. So first you've got the peaceful environment, then you've got the routine, then you've got where are they going to sleep. If you're traveling, you want to take a blanket. You want to take, IKEA has some of those fluffy mattresses that are thin but comfortable. And you want to lay that on the floor. The reason that Montessori encourages floor beds is because you don't want your child to feel like they're in a jail cell. You don't want them to feel like they don't have the freedom to explore their environment. You keep their room very minimal, okay? You use baby-proofing materials. We still baby-proof. You still need to, give them lessons and show them things, but you want to baby-proof their bedroom so that they do have the opportunity to explore. They're going to crawl faster. They're going to scoot faster. They're going to walk faster because they're going to have the opportunity to leave their bed of their own free will. This is so important. Freedom. So you place a baby gate at the entrance to the child's room so that they can go up to the gate and look out and say, hey, good morning, I'm awake. Usually that's done with a little cry. And they can go about their room. I remember coming into the bedroom when Greg was, between 7 and 8 months old. And he had woken up. He often woke up earlier than I did. And he would go and play with his toys inside his bedroom. He had this really interesting stacking set that my mom had given him that actually was not a Montessori material. But it was rings, and it had a little pole, and he could place the rings on the pole. And he loved to do it backwards. He loved to do it randomly. Eventually, he figured out how to put the largest one on the bottom and put it in order. I'd shown him how to do it a couple of times, but I woke up and I came over and looked in his room, and he was playing with that quietly by himself. He did not need to cry to wake me up when he woke up, so I can sleep in with the peace of mind knowing that he's safe. And today, with today's current technology, you can have the baby monitor in there, and you can have the little television screen. It's not a television, but you know what I mean. You can have the little monitor in your bedroom, and you can see what they're doing. You can hear what they're doing. So if they are awake and making noises, you can look at the monitor and see what's going on in their bedroom. But you keep the bedroom really simple. You want to put, the covers on the outlets so that they are not sticking anything inside the plugs. You can keep a hamper in there. You can have a dresser for clothing in there. A lot of the dressers on the back have that anchor set in so that you can anchor it to the wall. So God forbid they do decide that they want to be a ninja warrior like my little Greg and pull the drawers open and climb up the dresser and get on top of it. Yeah. That's one of the things that you need to be aware of. If they're left alone in their room for a long period of time, they are going to use their imaginations and find creative ways to entertain themselves. So but the key is to give them the freedom to explore their own bedroom, to get up when they're not tired anymore, to go to sleep when they feel tired. You can go to the baby gate and place them down and let them explore and let them spend some time in their room. And when they're tired, they will go over to their mattress. They don't need to be put to sleep. They will put themselves to sleep. And this creates a foundation so that when they grow up, they have very healthy sleep habits. So we had peaceful environment, routine, where are they going to sleep, location. And now we're going to talk, we got into this just a little bit earlier. We're going to talk about eating. So every 2 to 3 hours, the infant's going to wake up hungry, and they're going to show you. Um, this was like my Bible when Greg was a baby. Understanding the human being. I believe it's the first 3 years of life. It's written by Dr. Montanaro. Dr. Montanaro was hand selected by Maria Montessori to develop the 0 to 3 curriculum. It actually starts at pregnancy, but you've got the 0 to 3 curriculum because society was showing a need for a Montessori program for infants. And so she is an amazing woman, and she designed the curriculum. And this book talks about all of the things that I'm going over with you here. So I highly recommend that you try and get a copy of it. And it is difficult to find because it's there are only a limited number of books out there, and I don't think they're printing it anymore. But if you do, there is something. I'm gonna link this in the notes. There's a resource called Open Library, and it's a free source website where you can find books. And I believe Understanding the Human Being is on there. So I'll provide a link to that. Now, when it comes to eating, it's important that you have consistency. The child will show you, they'll give you little indications that they're hungry, right? And you want to observe them and watch for these signals. When I say consistency, I mean when you're in the hospital, if you don't get the opportunity to be with a midwife, a doula, and at a birth center, or giving birth to your child in your home, and you're at a hospital, you want to have a really strong birth plan, and it's important that the child doesn't get nipple confusion, because the nurses might give your child a pacifier. The nurses might give your child a bottle. The nurses might feed your child formula. All of these things you need to be aware of, and you need to plan for. Prepare your environment. You need to plan for them in advance with a birth plan that you give to the hospital, you give to all the nurses, you give copies to everyone involved, everyone who's going to be involved in your birth, so that they're aware that your goal is to nurse or formula feed. It's your choice, but the child needs consistency. I have met mothers who have been very successful in pumping, bottle feeding, and nursing. So they do all three, and it ends up, for the first year or two of life, it ends up being really successful for the mother and the baby, because that mother may need to go back to work. I exclusively breastfed because I did lots of research, especially it was before my first child was born. I have 3 children. Before my daughter was born, I was going to college, and I wrote a paper on the benefits of breastfeeding and the history of formula. And one of the things I learned was that the people who worked for the formula companies would dress up as nurses and go into the hospitals and basically commit fraud and give the mothers free samples of formula, like free canisters of the formula. So it led me to do more research on how the formula is formulated, how it helps in the development of the child's brain, and then how the mother's milk is formulated and how that helps in the development of the child's brain, the development of their immune systems. They're very different. We've come a long way with formula, and there are some mothers who cannot nurse for whatever reason. I had inverted nipples, so it was challenging for me, but once I got it down, we were fine. And the bonding experience is priceless. One of my friend's sisters said she didn't want to nurse because she was concerned about how her breasts would change. This is my opinion, but I think that the health of your child should be a priority over how your body's going to change when you're nursing. There's this amazing book called The Womanly Art of Breastfeeding, and they actually talk about how your breasts will go back to being a little bit more like they were before you were pregnant, a little bit bouncier, a little bit, higher sitting if you do nurse, rather than if your milk's going to come in and you don't nurse, and then the milk goes out, and I don't know, it said something about them ending up being a little bit saggier. I don't know that much about that research. I just know that the bond that I've had with my 3 children, because I nursed with them, is priceless. It was beautiful. Just being able to hold your child. The biggest benefit was that you can lay down with them in their bed, or you can lay down with them in your bed, and you can go back to sleep while they're eating. This is not possible with the bottle because you have to take the bottle out, you have to move the bottle, you keep the bottle from leaking on your sheets, set the bottle on the side. But and also they're coming a long way with the nipples in the bottle, like trying to design a nipple that gauges flow. Your body automatically is set up for nursing. So the milk is coming in at a flow that's comfortable for the child automatically. Whereas the bottle, when they're sucking on the nipple, the milk's just going in, right? At sometimes a very fast rate. They can choke, they need to be burped, they will spit up more often. And then, scientists are trying to design a formula that really does focus on optimal brain development and optimal health for the child, but mother's milk is already designed for the optimal health of the child, optimal everything. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Please feel free to ask a Montessorian if you have any questions about breastfeeding. I'm happy to help. So first we went into peaceful environment, then we went into routine. We talked about where your child should sleep. We talked about eating in the middle of the night, how that interrupts their sleep cycle, and you want to pay attention to your child. Follow your child. When they wake up and they give you the little feeding signals, they're hungry. They need to be fed. One of my friend's dads said to me, "Oh, they only need a diaper change, they only need to be fed, or they're tired. 3 things. That's it." That's not true. An infant is you in a very small version. You love to be held. You love to explore your environment. You love to communicate and connect with other human beings. And when your mom holds you and looks into your eyes and talks to you about the day and how beautiful it is outside, the trees and Mother Nature, and tells you stories about amazing things, these are things that your infant craves as well. So human connection. The number of things that your infant could be craving are endless. It's not just down to 3 things. They may be uncomfortable because they have a wet diaper. This is true. They may be uncomfortable because they have a bowel movement and they need to be changed. The child will give you indicators of what it is that they need. They have different cries. This is kind of fascinating. Sometimes there's a pain cry. Sometimes there's a hungry cry. There's an attention cry. Attention can include a number of things, but anyhow, I digress again. Number 5. We talked about this throughout all the other steps, but the 5th step is to follow your child. Pay attention to when they're having a growth spurt. Prepare the environment and plan ahead. Observe your child for indications of hunger and tiredness. For instance, when my son's dad and I would go to eat at a restaurant, we would take turns being with him because I had the Montessori training and I knew that the 0 to 3-year-old, one of their human characteristics is movement. So you cannot expect a 2-year-old to sit in a high chair and pleasantly eat for an hour. You need to prepare in advance. You need to bring some extra snacks. You might want to bring a glass for them to drink out of. Like the little votive candle holders are perfect for their little hands. You may want to put off eating at a restaurant until they're 18 months. Get a babysitter and go and eat with your husband without the child. So we would take turns. We ate at restaurants that had large patios. So my son would take Greg outside and he would run around, he would explore, he would, have a field day, and they would enjoy each other's company. And then my husband would come back inside, and then I would take Greg, because I would have finished eating by then, and I would go outside and I would play with him and let him explore. We also had a babysitter come. Well, we had a babysitter occasionally, but I had the wonderful blessing of living with my mother. So my mother would watch the little ones, and then we would go on date nights. And this is ideal because movement is so crucial to the young child in the first plane of development, the 0 to 6-year-olds. So the 5 steps are: you want a peaceful environment, okay? You want a routine so that they begin to create order in their environment and they know what to expect, what's coming next. And that helps them to be able to plan their days more successfully as they grow older. Where's your child going to sleep? If you're staying at a hotel or you're traveling, you want to plan ahead and make sure that they have a comfortable bed on the floor, a pack and play. I don't encourage pack and plays simply because it's similar to them being in a trapped little environment. So you want to just put a pad on the floor. You want to supervise your child as much as possible. You may not be able to baby-proof a hotel room, but you're there with your child. You stay with your child. There's something called attachment parenting. It's so beautiful. And the idea is that you stay with your child the first 1 to 3 years of life. You spend all your time with them and you make them feel safe and secure so that they can grow up to be confident and successful adults. I had a wrap. So at my baby shower, someone gifted me one of the Moby wraps. I think it's called a Moby wrap. And it was this kind of polyester stretchy fabric. And then I was in Phoenix at the time, which, if you guys know Phoenix, 115 degrees in the summer, 115 to 125 on any given day. So one of my friends made the wrap for me out of gauze, and that was a lifesaver because it was so much more breathable. And Greg was in the wrap until he was 18 months old. This is a little long because at 12 months old, between 9 and 13 months old, they're walking, right? Between 10 and 13 months old, give or take, a few weeks. They're usually walking, and you want to help them have the resources so that they can walk as often as possible. So in the beginning of the video, I was talking about how society has so many materials put in place that are geared towards the parent's schedule instead of the needs of the child. So rather than have a stroller, you want the wrap, right? You can do the dishes, you can cook dinner, you can do all sorts of things with the infant right here in the wrap and attached to you, feeling secure. If they want to nurse and have a little snack, they can do that. The wrap was priceless for me. I absolutely loved it. It was just as valuable as the book Understanding the Human Being. You don't necessarily need a stroller when they're walking. You want them to be able to walk. We used to go to staircases. We'd find a staircase, at the mall, at the local park, try and find outdoor staircases, and just let your child, as soon as they start walking, let them go up and down the stairs, and they will go for hours. If you let them. So plan ahead, bring a snack, and let them develop that sense of movement. Okay. The younger they're exposed to something, the more successful they're going to be as they grow older at it. Hence why Greg is a ninja warrior, and he absolutely loves it. So we had a peaceful environment, routine, where are they going to sleep, eating, and number 5, the 5th step to sensational sleep with your sweet little ones is follow the child. Thank you so much again for joining me here today. I know that was a little long-winded. Please feel free to ask a Montessorian, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.